What's up YouTube? How goes it? Welcome to another episode. Today we're having a look at one of the most requested reviews I've had on this channel. I'm talking about the IdeaPad 5 with the latest AMD specification. Well, I'm here to deliver on that. So the one we have here today is rocking the latest Ryzen 5700u processor, 16GB of DDR4 RAM, powered by AMD's graphics, or also known as the Radeon integrated graphics. And yes, this is a 512GB solid state drive. Additionally, we do have the latest Wi-Fi and Bluetooth standards on board. And of course, this is a 15-inch screen rocking a full HD resolution that is an IPS panel. In today's review, we're gonna see if this laptop lives up to the hype, if it brings everything you'd want in a laptop, if it's the #1 productivity laptop, and of course the ultimate question, whether or not it's worth your hard-earned cash. As always, if you guys do enjoy this review, consider subscribing to my channel, hit that like button. We are so close to 10k subs at the time of this video, and that's all thanks to you guys. So sincerely, thank you so much for your support. Starting off with a quick unboxing, as you can see, Lenovo has hired some of the most talented artists across the world to design their unboxing experience. So you have a very standard looking cardboard box with the Lenovo branding in the dead center. There's really not much else to see here. Once you remove the content seal itself, inside of course you will find a number of items. First and foremost, a laptop and a ton of protective packaging. Once you remove all that, here it is in all its glory, the IdeaPad 5. But more on that in a minute. You also get a 65-watt charging adapter, and yes, this is a USB Type-C charging adapter, which is absolutely amazing to see. Also, of course, you have a standard wall outlet plug, and lastly, you have your instruction booklet with warranty information, the quick start guide, and all the usual stuff that you'll probably never read. The Lenovo IdeaPad 5 is easily one of the most professional looking laptops out there. Lenovo definitely likes to carry its business-like theme across most of its lineups, and that definitely shows here as well. It does have a hefty weight of approximately 4.4 pounds, but for the most part that weight is justified given that you have a nice mix of standard and premium materials on board. Starting off with the top side, you can see you have a nice cool to the touch metallic finish. There's no particular texture on the surface, but I personally like that. You do have the Lenovo badging on the side, which again looks really subtle, and overall I'm a huge fan of the top styling. As we make our way to the side of the laptop, honestly speaking, I/O port diversity is just okay given the fact this is a 15-inch laptop, but I wouldn't call it great. So you have a power delivery capable USB-C port, you also have a full-sized HDMI port, and of course the good old headphone jack. As you make your way to the other side, you'll find two USB 3.0 ports, one of which actually supports reverse charging, and of course you have a full-sized SD card reader. It's also worth noting right next to that, you actually have the power indicator. Making our way to the bottom side of the laptop, you can see that you do have a hard TPU finish over here, which is quite acceptable. Also, you have this nice long linear vent. This is of course for air intake to keep the laptop running nice and cool. And other than that, you do have a couple rubber grippers to keep the laptop in place, and that's pretty much everything to see here. As soon as you unfold this laptop, the very first thing you're going to notice is the generous amount of palm rest space. Now to be fair, this is expected with a 15-inch laptop. It's also worth noting the inner design or the inner chassis is also entirely metallic, so you do have that nice continuation of premium materials. Making our way to the trackpad, unfortunately this is not a glass surface trackpad, rather it does use a high quality plastic instead. Of course, with that said, the overall trackpad quality is quite respectable. Clicks are fairly tactile. There's very little imbalance when you click on any corner of the keyboard, and generally speaking, I find this to be a lot better than a lot of what the competition offers in this given price range. The keyboard. Dang, the keyboard is one area where Lenovo just absolutely slays the competition. These guys make some of the best keyboards. Seriously, you have amazing key travel. Every keystroke feels nice and tactile. You genuinely enjoy typing on this keyboard, so much so that you may almost enjoy writing up that essay you've been procrastinating on. You also have a 2-tier brightness setting, so it is a fully backlit keyboard, and you also have the inclusion of a full-size 10-key number pad. Now keep in mind, this is the 15-inch variation. The 14-inch configuration does not have this. Also, it's worth noting that you do have a built-in fingerprint scanner, which is combined with the actual power button itself. But overall, again, this is a fantastic keyboard. Moving on, the hinge quality on the IdeaPad 5 continues to be pretty good. So you'll find you have a pretty sturdy hinge. Now there there is a little bit of wobble when you have the screen in a fixed position, but it's barely noticeable, and this hinge should last for the years to come. Moving on to the actual chin of the laptop, it's relatively small, the bezels are fairly narrow and more or less in line with 2021 standards. On the top you will find a generic 720p webcam, which honestly falls just shy of being miserable, but I'm not gonna hold this against Lenovo because literally most of the PC industry is still stuck with a 720p webcam, unfortunately. Let's get into the meat of the review, the display quality. Honestly speaking, this is one area where I find that the IdeaPad 5 continues to disappoint, unfortunately. So you start off with a respectable resolution of 1080p or Full HD. This is a IPS display with a 60Hz refresh rate. That all sounds good and dandy. So after that, you realize that you only have a 56% sRGB rating, and honestly, it shows. Colors look washed out, bland. This is not a good laptop if you are a creative user who's heavily reliant on color accuracy. Of course, with that being said, if you are the average Joe who's doing number crunching, word typing, or even watching some Netflix, you should be okay. Now, another area where this laptop disappoints is the fact that you only have a maximum brightness of 350 nits, which in itself is not necessarily bad, but honestly speaking, you'll find other than using this in indoor settings, this often falls short for a lot of outdoor based settings where you have a lot of light coming. Thankfully, this is a anti-glare screen, which does help a little bit. Let's talk about the real flex, the actual performance of this machine. So the Ryzen 7 performs exactly the way I'd expect it to. Day-to-day tasks feel super snappy, whether that's going on the web and doing some browsing, watching some YouTube, or crunching through a Word document. Of course, to really test this laptop to its limit, I installed DaVinci Resolve 17 and did some hardcore 4K video editing. And what I found is that while the machine generally speaking does a pretty good job, there are the occasional frame drops, and every now and then I find that the laptop had a little bit of lag, but I definitely say that 4K video editing is a viable experience and the Ryzen 7 can definitely handle it like a champ. In the gaming side of things, honestly, I was pretty impressed with AMD's latest edition of the Radeon integrated graphics. You'll find most modern day games are able to run anywhere from ultra low to low settings. In some cases, games like GTA 5, for example, can be fully maxed out and run well above 30 FPS, which again is comparable to Intel's Iris Xe graphics performance and definitely a great bargain. For those of you who want to know how things do in the thermals department, well, you'll be happy to know the IdeaPad 515-inch runs relatively cool. So running it at its absolute peak, the hottest this laptop gets at the surface is approximately 41 degrees Celsius, but we found during a sustained workload, you're more likely to stay in the neighborhood of about 33 degrees Celsius, which honestly is pretty good, and the Ryzen chip runs super cool, relatively speaking. At idle loads, you can hit as low as 22 degrees Celsius, which again is a super healthy number to be at. Another area where this laptop does really well is in the battery life department. So I found that the Ryzen version of the IdeaPad 5 can get almost up to 11 hours of battery on a single charge, and I was doing moderately intensive things like watching HD movies, doing some web browsing, and even doing a little bit of video editing and using the speakers on board. So pretty respectable, all things considered. Also, it's worth noting this laptop does have a stereo speaker setup, and yes, these are front-facing or front-firing speakers. The speaker grill is directly above the keyboard. Have a quick listen for yourself.
So enigmatic and charismatic, gotta live static, gotta get at it, never pragmatic, cause we live tragic. I can't live average, to be alive's magic. Turn it up in the back cause I'm grabbing everything I want, get in my way and I'm stabbing. I'll be moving crowds till I'm 6 feet napping. They need another fix.
So what's the hot take? Well, priced at $750 USD, I think this laptop honestly is a great deal as long as you're not a creativity user. So from a build point of view, this laptop uses some amazing premium quality materials, which reflects across both the inner chassis and the outer chassis as well. Also, I really like the fact that you have a high quality pair of stereo speakers, and I really enjoy typing on this keyboard. It has one of the best keyboards and a very high quality trackpad that I think generally slays against most of the competition. Performance on this laptop is also quite respectable. You get a handsome amount of battery life, all things considered, and generally speaking, you can do most resource intensive activities without breaking a sweat. Now, on the not so bright side, the biggest disappointment in this laptop has to be its display. If you are any sort of creative user, whether it's video editing, photo editing, this laptop's display just cuts too short. 56% sRGB is nothing to be proud of, Lenovo. Of course, with that being said, if your use case is more general or if you don't need that kind of color accuracy, you should be fine with a laptop like this. The 15-inch screen is more than ample for most users. Overall, I can wholeheartedly recommend this laptop to anyone who's buying it for productivity reasons or even the occasional gaming, dare I say. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, hit that like button, consider subscribing to my channel. Again, thank you so much. At the time of this video, we're almost at 10k subs, and that's all thanks to you guys. A giveaway will be happening soon. Keep updated by going on the community post on my channel. Thanks again. See ya.